I'm back. Rudrance for the Black and White Network. Well, we have been talking about this. The exodus from the Democratic Party. The people that are in the middle. Independents that sometimes vote left or right. Maybe registered as a Democrat. Or just flat Democrats that's had enough. We've seen a lot of that involving parents. Because of COVID. Because of CRT. Because of this gender alphabet ideology that's getting pushed into public schools. The fact is, nothing will tick a parent off more than trying to push something onto their children that they don't want pushed. Okay? Now, and the best example I can give of this is a lot of the CRT kind of things. Fox News has been having this couple of different ladies on. And both of them are self-admitted former feminists, okay? Or they considered themselves feminists, and they were Democrats. They said they will forever vote Republican from now on. Why? Because the wokes went after their children pushing critical race theory on their children. They were like, no, we're not going to have that. And, of course, there's the COVID issue. Believe it or not, there's still Democratic counties out there that have their kids masked up. I just can't believe that. This is Outkick. Republican Party making huge gains in voter registration. In a totally unsurprising turn of events, Republicans are overwhelmingly dominating voter registration switches across the country. According to a recent report by the AP, more than 1 million voters in the U.S. have switched their affiliation to the Republican Party over the last year. The great registration shift is the most significant in suburban areas in swing states, very important, which have become a stronghold of the Democratic Party politics in recent years. While I'm thinking about it, don't sleep on the fact that a lot of Hispanics have decided to jump over and switch parties, because by and large Hispanics are tend to be more conservative, but a lot of them have voted Democrat all these years. We just flipped a county here in Texas that has been 150 years of Democratic voting, and it is now Republican. The AP analysis found that suburban Denver surprises me, Atlanta, and this is two big ones right here, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And now, I'm going to tell you, both of those areas have a lot of industry, and they're very blue-collar. But a lot of those people have notoriously voted Democrat over the years. I think we're getting those voters now. All saw dramatic increases in former Democrats turning to the GOP. There's the graphic right there. I'm shocked anybody would be switching over to Democrat. What the hell? This trend started in early 2021 while the writers of the AP pretend to be confused about the reasons for this remarkable turnaround. It's abundantly clear what the motivations are for switching parties. Democratic governors and local politicians have imposed devastating, ineffective, and seemingly endless COVID-related policies on people's lives. I cannot imagine that there are still places out there that are even thinking about COVID anymore. I mean, look, I've got some kin that just had COVID. I mean, we know COVID's still a thing, but we live our life here in Texas, and we have for, quite some time. For example, many schools remained closed for much of the early part of 2021, and children were forced to wear masks when they did reopen. Some districts are still requiring masks, well after the efficacy has been disproven, and many in the general public are no longer concerned about the possible threats from the virus. Democrats are also embracing increasingly progressive social policies, like allowing transgender athletes to compete against women, promoting drag queen story hour events, and declaring public support for abolishing the Supreme Court, defunding the police. Yeah, everyday Americans don't want that. I can tell you right now. You can forget it. The economic situation throughout the country also rapidly deteriorated, with rampant inflation putting pressure on working and middle-class families in suburban areas across the country. Yeah, anytime you've got people that have to drive into work, these gas prices are killing us. You know, I mean, I'm only 8 miles out of town, but I have to drive a round trip of 16 miles to do anything. To do anything, I have to drive 16 miles round trip. The border crisis has also accelerated with record high crossings nearly every month since Biden took office. And throughout these crises, Democratic politicians and their allies in the media have followed the same playbook. Pretend there is no crisis, acknowledge it, but downplay voter concerns over the issue and finally blame others for the mess they created or exacerbated. Well, you know, they're still trying to blame Putin, too, and nobody's buying that. Nobody's buying the Russian and Ukraine war anymore. I mean, that's just not a thing. Inflation is, and by the way, inflation's like 8.5% or something like that. It was like in the 7s before the war started, by the way. I mean, it was already ridiculously high. Inflation is perhaps the best example. Biden in 2021 claimed that there's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way, no serious economists. Now, out of desperation, the administration attributes the issue to Putin's price hike, despite the vast majority of inflationary pressure occurring well before the invasion of the Ukraine. Despite their efforts and media's gaslighting campaign, the public is clearly seeing through the messaging, while former Republicans, quote, like CNN C. Cup, claim to be concerned about the future of the party with nonsense like, I don't know this party, I don't know these Republicans, this isn't what drew me to the party. Actual Americans are showing that the new right is increasingly desirable. With midterm elections rapidly approaching, the swing in voter registration is sure to have a monumental impact on close local races this fall. Voters are overwhelmingly rejecting the message and policies of the Democratic Party. They have nobody to blame but themselves. I keep telling people, you know, a lot of independent voters are registered one way or another, right? But they're mostly centrist or moderates. And I think the Democrats are going to lose a ton of independents. And that's going to swing presidential elections, okay? Never mind what's going to happen at a local level. It's going to swing presidential elections. We was just talking about that. The last video I did, Joe Rogan said he thought Ron DeSantis was going to be a good president. And Joe Rogan's a classic liberal. The classic liberal is assed out now. Okay? Well, there's a lot of those people. And in places like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, you got the steel industry, blue collar, and a lot of those folks voted notoriously and exclusively Democrat for a long, long time. And they're looking around, they're like, I'm worried about my everyday life, the blue-collar issues, gas, inflation, prices to buy meat. I mean, just the things in your house. And the Democratic Party, the only thing they want to bring into your house is transgenders and drag queens. That's not flying. That's not flying with common sense Americans. They have completely lost common sense Americans. Bill Maher did a really good analogy of this the other day. Okay? It seems the Democratic Party has made, quote unquote, and this is just to use an example, the Democrats were a lawyer for the blue collar people. Well, now they're lawyers for everybody else. And they're like, oh, you got transgender. You're representing the transgender. That's great. You're representing the social justice. That's great. You're doing all of this stuff, but you're not representing me anymore. And that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So they're losing a ton. I mean, over 1 million have switched. Wow. Wow. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network fans. This is an indictment. An indictment of Democratic parties. We are seeing it right now. Peace. I'm out. Till next time. Black and White Network supporters, make sure you check out the Black and White Network merchandise store. Link in the description. Use promo code USA First, all one word. USA First, all one word. 25% off now.